Right, so this is Biology Paper 2, 2022 internal. Specifically, I'm going to answer section A. So on this section, you are required to answer all the questions using the spaces which are going to be provided. And you're supposed to write your answers in short form. So the first question is coming from a cell specialization. So the question is saying figure 1.1 shows two generalized cells, F and G, of living organisms. So we have cell F, which is the animal cell. Then as for cell G, which is a plant cell. So the first question, which is question A, Roman numeral number is saying identify the part labeled H. So part labeled H on an animal cell or on cell F, it is called the cell membrane. It is called what? The cell membrane. So the outermost part bounded by organelles, it is called what? The cell membrane. And then as for the next one, which is Roman numeral number 2, is saying, how does part H differ from I? So usually part H is the cell membrane, and then as for I, it is the cell wall. So usually cell wall is only found in plant cells, not in animal cells. Whereas for part H, which is the cell membrane, is found in both plants and animals. So the difference here is that as for part H, it selects what goes in and out of the cell. Whereas as for part I, it gives the cell or the plant cell its shape. Then as for Roman numeral number 3, saying explain the function of structure labeled J. So structure labeled J, it is called the what? The vacuum. And usually the vacuum stores what? Cell sap. So the function is of the part labeled J is to store the cell sap. Now cell sap consists of water, salt, and sugar. Then the next one, which is Roman numeral number 4, is saying to which group of living organisms does cell F belong? So cell F is the animal cell, so which means it belongs to animal cells. So I'm going to say cell F belongs to animal cells. Then as for question B, is saying figure 1.2 shows the cell organization levels in multicellular organisms. So when we talk of multicellular organisms, these are organisms which are made up of main cells, and they are called what? Eukaryotic cells. We also have unicellular organisms like prokaryotic cells, and let's say an example is amoeba of the prokaryotic what? Cells. So now for a living organism to be produced, it needs to start from where? Organelles. The composition of a cytoplasm, nucleus, and so on. And also the nucleus, forming what? A cell. So as for K, we are going to consider K to be what? Cells. So when different organelles come together, a cell is going to be formed. So as for K, is going to be what? Cells. Then as for M, is going to be what? Organ. So when tissues come together, they are going to form what? Organ. So let's try to answer the questions. So Roman numeral number is saying identify the parts labeled K and M. Identify the part labeled K and M. So as for K, I'm going to say cells. Then as for M, I'm going to say organ. Then as for Roman numeral number 2 is saying state the level of cell organization at which muscles would be found. So the answer here is what? Tissue or tissues. Because muscles, they consist of what? Cells, same cells. So when same cells come together, they are going to form a what? A tissue. So I'm going to say tissues. Then as for Roman numeral number 3 is saying, give one example of a system in plants and in animals. So the first one I'm going to start with what? The plants. The first one is the reproductive system. The reproductive system. Followed by transport system. Transport system. Then in animals, we can talk of the nervous system and circulatory system. So let's move on to the next one. So question 2 is saying figure 2.1 shows a table of substances absorbed by plants from the soil. So we have oxygen, nitrates, potassium, and water. Then the question is saying from figure 2.1, identify the substances or substance which enters the plant by osmosis. Now, since osmosis is the movement of water molecules from the region of lower concentration to the region of higher concentration through the selectively semi-permeable membrane. So which means we are going to find that as for osmosis, it is what? Water. Then as for active transport is the movement of what? Substances or particles from the region of lower concentration to the region of higher concentration against the concentration gradient by using energy from ATP. So on this part here, I'm going to say nitrates and potassium. Then the last one, diffusion. So as for diffusion, the way oxygen enters or leaves the plant, it is by what? Diffusion. An example, during the process of photosynthesis, when photosynthesis occurs, we are going to find that two products are going to be produced. That is what? Glucose and oxygen. So oxygen leaves the leaf by diffusion on the stomata pores. Then as for question B is coming from enzymes. So it is saying figure 2.2 is a graph showing the effect of pH. So we are talking about pH here on the rate of enzyme controlled reactions N and O. So usually a pH scale is ranged from 0 up to 14, and the pH of 0 up to 6.9 is called the acidic medium. It is called what? The acidic medium. Then the pH of 7, it is called what? The neutral medium, which means it is neither acidic nor alkalinity. Then the pH from 7.9 up to 14 is called the alkalinity medium. So as for reaction N, it is operating at what? It is operating under acidic condition or acidic medium. So an example, in living organism, where the action N can take place, it is in where? In the stomach. Because in the stomach, that is when the hydrochloric acid is produced. And hydrochloric acid is what? It is an acid. Okay. Then as for reaction O, it is operating under alkalinity medium. So an example, in the body where reaction O can take place, it is in the mouth, where amylase can work. Apart from in the mouth, also in the duodenum, okay, and also in the duodenum. So we have X and Y, part X and Y. So part X and Y, they are representing what? The optimum pH, not optimum temperature, but optimum pH. Since here we are talking about pH, which means this one is what? The optimum pH, where the enzymes work at the best. The pH at which enzymes work at the best. So as for Roman numeral 1 is saying, what term is given to the parts labeled X and Y in the graph? So it is the optimum pH. Then the next one, which is Roman numeral number 2, is saying, which reaction is under acidic conditions? So it is reaction N. Then as for Roman numeral number 3, it is saying, which reaction could only be for a protein food? Give a reason for your answer. So on this part here, I'm going to say reaction N. Reaction what? N, because the enzymes for proteins work best under what? Acidic medium. So enzymes for proteins work at the best at acidic medium. Then as for question C, saying explain the role of enzymes in metabolism. Now when you talk about metabolism, this is just the sum total of all chemical reactions which occur in the body. And usually metabolism is controlled by what? Enzymes. Metabolism is controlled by what? Enzymes. So in this part here, we have two types of metabolism. We have anabolism. So as for anabolism, it is just the type of metabolism where small molecules are built up to form what? Large molecules. Then as for catabolism, we also have catabolism. So catabolism is the breaking down of large molecules to form smaller molecules. So the role of enzymes in metabolism, it is just to build up small molecules to form large molecules. Another one is to break down large molecules to form small molecules. So those are the roles of enzymes in metabolism. So as for question 3, it is saying figure 3 shows part of the alimentary canal of a human being. Part of the alimentary canal of the human being. So we have structure P, which is called the gullet or the esophagus. Then Q is called the stomach. Then R is called the pancreas. Then the last one, which is S, is called the liver. So as for question A, it is saying identify the parts labeled P and Q. So part labeled P, it is called the esophagus or the gullet. Then as for Q, it is called the stomach. So the next one, which is B, is saying explain the functions of the part labeled R in digestion. So part labeled R, it is called what? The pancreas. So the pancreas produces what? Pancreatic juice. So I'm going to say production of pancreatic juice. Then apart from that one, this pancreatic juice, it emulsifies fats into droplets. It emulsifies fats into droplets. Okay, then the last one I'm going to talk of the optimum. So it sets up the optimum pH. Let me say it sets up the optimum pH of alkalinity, or it sets up the optimum for alkalinity medium. Then as for question C is saying state two functions of the part labeled S in digestion. So part labeled S is called the liver. So the function of the liver in digestion, the first one is the bowel production. The bowel production or production of bowel. It's fine. Then the last one I can talk of deamination. So deamination is just the process of converting excess amino acids into urea. So usually urea is formed where? In the liver, not in the kidney, but it is formed where? In the liver, when excess amino acid undergo deamination. Then as for question D is saying describe two elements of the, describe two effects of the common elements of the part labeled S, which is the liver, to the human body. So the first one I'm going to talk of cirrhosis. So cirrhosis is just an ailment. Now to describe it, I'm going to say cirrhosis is the hardening of the liver tissues due to poisoning or excess intake of alcohol. Then the next one is hepatomegaly. So hepatomegaly is usually the enlargement of the liver cell or cells. The enlargement of the liver. The enlargement of the liver. Then the next one, which is question 4, is coming from reproduction in animals. So it is saying figure 4 summarizes the stages in the formation of the human fetus. In the formation of the what? The human fetus. So we have cell T, which is called the sperm cell. Then as for cell U, which is called the ovum or the egg. Then as for part V, it is called the placenta. So question A, Roman numeral is saying identify the cells labeled T and U. So T is called the sperm cell or the male gamete. Then as for U, it is called the ovum or the egg. Then as for Roman numeral number 2 is saying state one way in which cell T and cell U in figure 4 are genetically similar. So now I'm going to say both cell T and U contains, yes, both cell T and U contain 23 chromosomes. 23 chromosomes. So these 23 chromosomes is coming from the haploid number. So under genetics we have two types of cells. We have somatic cells, which are also known as body cells. So somatic cells, usually they have a diploid number, which is what? 46. Then as for the last one, which is as sex cells or gamete cells. So as for gamete cells, they have the haploid number, which is 23. So the haploid number is the half of the diploid D number. Then the next one, which is Roman numeral number 3, is saying mention three functions over the part labeled V. So part labeled V is called the placenta. So the function of the placenta, the first one is secretion of hormones. For example, growth hormones. The secretion of what? Hormones. An example is the secretion of what? Growth hormone. Then the next one is to supply oxygen and nutrients to the fetus. Supply oxygen and nutrients to the fetus. Then the last one, it provides what? Or it anchors the fetus. It anchors the fetus. Then the next one, which is the last one, question 5, it is coming from genetics. So it is saying figure 5 shows phenotypes for a mother and her 2 children. So now in terms of phenotype, it is an outward appearance of a living organism. Okay, so we have the father. So the blood group of the father, it is unknown. Then the blood group of the mother, it is blood group A. So the son here is having blood group O. Then the daughter is having blood group B. So now the first thing here you need to ask yourself, or I need to ask myself, where is B coming from? Because they are saying the mother is having blood group what? A, which means blood group B is coming from the father. So now for us to produce the son with blood group O, which means the father should be blood group B heterozygous dominant, and also the mother should be blood group A heterozygous dominant. Okay, and usually as for blood group O, it only exists as homozygous recessive. So the question is saying from figure 5, deduce the genotypes for the father and mother. So now the father here is going to do what? Blood group B as heterozygous dominant. Now, as for the genotype, it is the genetic composition of a living organism. So which means as for genotypes, they are represented by what? Alleles. And usually the blood groups, they have a special allele which is capital letter I. So now in terms of blood group B heterozygous, which means we are going to have capital letter I to the power B, capital letter I to the power O. So this one here shows that alleles, they go in pairs. Okay. Then the mother is going to have blood group A as heterozygous dominant, which is capital letter I to the power A, capital letter I to the power O. So the reason why I'm putting O here, this is because O, it is homozygous, or O, it is recessive. Okay. So once we have the father, which is heterozygous, which is blood group B heterozygous, and the mother, which is blood group A heterozygous, we are going to produce the daughter with blood group B, and also the son with blood group O. So you can try to close using the same alleles that I've given you, so that you see the products which are going to be produced. Okay. So the next one is B, saying the daughter got married. Now remember, the daughter here is having what? Blood group B. So the daughter got married and had a son with blood group AB. So now where is A coming from? So A is coming from where? From the father, because B is coming from the mother. So what was the blood group phenotype of the husband? So as for the phenotype, you just use what? Words, don't use alleles. So I'm going to say blood group what? A, because for the child to be produced which is having blood group AB, blood group A should come from where? From the father. Since the daughter here is blood group B, so now where is blood group A is coming from? It is coming from the husband. So the husband was having blood group what? A, in words. Just like in words, don't use alleles. Then the last one, which is C, the father divorced the wife. Now remember, the father, it is having blood group B as heterozygous dominant. So the father divorced the wife and married another woman with blood group what? B. Now in this part here, we don't know if the woman is having blood group B as homozygous dominant or heterozygous dominant, but the result of the offspring is going to tell us. So, and their first child had blood group what? O. So this tells us that even the woman was having blood group B as heterozygous dominant. So the question is saying, with the help of a genetic diagram, explain how this was possible. So let me display the answer. So let me start with the parental phenotype. So as for the parental phenotype, we just use what? Words. So it is the father. So the father is having blood group B. So I'm just going to write blood group B, close with the woman, which is having blood group B also. Yes. So apart from that one, let's move on to the parental genotype. Now, so the genotype is represented by what? Alleles. And alleles, they go in pairs. And remember, the father here, it is having blood group B as heterozygous, and also the mother is having blood group B as heterozygous. So the alleles for a blood group, it is capital letter I, and then you put the blood group on top. So on the first one, we are going to have capital letter I to the power B, capital letter I to the power O. That is for the father. And similar to the mother, we are going to have the what? The same thing. So apart from that one, we need to split the what? The gametes C. So when you say split the gametes, each gamete on the father here is going to be independent, and also each gamete on the woman here is going to be what? Independent. So let me start with, since I've split the what? The gametes. So the gamete, the first gamete for the father, it is what? Capital I to the power B is going to cater with every allele to the woman. So as the result, the first one is going to be what? Blood group B as homozygous dominant, because we are having capital I to the power B, capital I to the power B. Then the next one, it is blood group B as heterozygous dominant, because we are having capital I to the power B, capital I to the power O. So let's move on to the next one, which is capital I to the power O for the father. Similarly, this one is also going to cater with every allele on the woman here. So the first one, we are going to have capital I to the power B, capital I to the power O, which is blood group B, heterozygous dominant. Then the last one, we are going to have blood group O, homozygous recessive. Remember, as for blood group O, it only exists as homozygous recessive. So here we are going to have the F1, which is the first filler genotype. Remember, genotype are represented by alleles. That's why I'm putting first filler of F1 genotype. So we are going to have blood group B as homozygous dominant. Then the next one is blood group B as heterozygous dominant, followed by blood group B as heterozygous dominant. And then the last one is blood group O as homozygous recessive. Then the last one is the F1 phenotype. Now on the F1 phenotype, what you're supposed to write here is just the what? The words. So as for the first one, we are having blood group B. Then the next one, blood group B. The third one, blood group B. Then the last one, it is what? Blood group O. So that was the last one. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.